Los Angeles Lakers legends, Shaquille O'Neal, the untold story. Introduction. The NBA has produced countless legends, players who defined eras, broke records, and inspired generations. But every once in a while, a player arrives who doesn't just compete in the league, he changes the league itself. When he stepped onto the court, everything shifted. Defenders looked smaller, strategies became useless, and entire teams were forced to rebuild their identity just to survive him. He wasn't just a superstar. He was a problem no system could solve. A force built on size, speed, and unstoppable dominance, who turned every arena into his stage and every matchup into a mismatch. And when he reached Los Angeles, history didn't just continue. It evolved. This is the untold journey of Shaquille O'Neal and his legendary era with the Los Angeles Lakers.
Part 1. Early Life, The Making of a Giant, 1972 to 1991.
Shaquille O'Neal was born in 1972 in Newark, New Jersey. But his journey didn't stay in one place for long. From the very beginning, life kept moving him, shaping him, and testing him. He grew up under strict discipline, especially from his stepfather, a military man who believed in structure, respect, and control. That environment built Shaq's foundation, not just as an athlete, but as a person who understood discipline before fame. But even as a kid, there was something impossible to ignore: his size, his strength, his presence. While others were still growing into their teenage years, Shaq already looked like someone built for something bigger than normal life. School wasn't easy socially, but it became the first place where his physical advantage started to turn into identity. Basketball courts became his escape, a place where being different wasn't a weakness, it was power. During his teenage years, that raw potential started transforming into real skill. Coaches noticed it, opponents felt it. And slowly, basketball stopped being just a hobby. It became his direction. By the late 1980s, he was no longer just a big kid who plays basketball. He was becoming a serious prospect with unstoppable physical dominance and growing control of the game. And by 1991, the world of basketball was no longer guessing. They were waiting. Because it was clear something massive was about to enter the game. Something that would soon take over the entire NBA.
Part 2. College Dominance and NBA Arrival, 1991 to 1992. In 1991, Shaquille O'Neal stepped into college basketball at Louisiana State University, and immediately the game started changing around him. From the very first season, he wasn't just a player, he was a mismatch problem that no team could solve. His size, strength, and agility made him unstoppable in the paint. Opponents tried everything: double teams, physical defense, zone pressure, but nothing could slow him down. By the early 1990s, Shaq had already become one of the most dominant forces in college basketball. Awards started coming in, recognition grew, and the hype around him reached a level where everyone knew one thing: he was not staying in college for long. In 1992, Shaquille O'Neal declared for the NBA draft, and the entire basketball world was watching. When his name was called, it wasn't just the start of a career. It was the arrival of a new era in professional basketball. The league was about to meet a player who would redefine what it meant to dominate the paint and forever change the future of the game.
Part 3. NBA Entry, A New Force is Born, 1992 to 1996. In 1992, Shaquille O'Neal officially entered the NBA after being selected as the #1 overall pick in the NBA draft. From the moment he stepped onto the professional court, the league immediately felt the difference. This wasn't just a talented rookie. This was a physical phenomenon the NBA had never experienced before. In his early seasons, 1992 to 1996, Shaq completely reshaped how teams defended the paint. Traditional centers struggled. Defensive schemes collapsed. Even elite defenders were forced into foul trouble or simply overpowered. Every game became the same story. He catches the ball near the rim,
and something breaks. Either the defense, the backboard pressure, or the momentum of the entire game. During this period, Shaq quickly established himself as one of the most dominant young players in NBA history. His scoring ability, rebounding power, and sheer physical presence made him impossible to ignore. By 1996, it was no longer a question of potential. It was a fact of reality. Shaquille O'Neal was already one of the most feared players in the league, and the next chapter of his career was about to begin in Los Angeles, with the Los Angeles Lakers.
Part 4. The Los Angeles era begins, 1996 to 1999. In 1996, everything changed. Shaquille O'Neal made the move that would define the next era of his career. He joined the Los Angeles Lakers. It wasn't just a transfer, it was a statement. The Lakers were rebuilding, searching for a new identity after years of inconsistency. And in Shaq, they found something far bigger than a star. They found a foundation. From the very first season in Los Angeles, the energy of the franchise shifted. Staples that once felt uncertain now had direction. The crowd didn't just come to watch games. They came expecting dominance. But it wasn't an instant championship story. Between 1996 and 1999, the Lakers were still finding their rhythm. Shaq delivered consistent dominance in the paint, destroying defenses night after night. But the team as a whole struggled with chemistry, consistency, and playoff execution. Still, one thing was never in doubt. When Shaq was on the court, the Lakers were always dangerous. Every game became a reminder. This team had the most physically unstoppable force in basketball, but they were still missing the final piece to become a dynasty. And that missing piece was about to arrive, turning potential into history. Part 5. The Dynasty is Built, 1999 to 2002. By 1999, everything finally aligned for the Los Angeles Lakers. Shaquille O'Neal was no longer just a dominant superstar. He had become the most unstoppable force in the league. But even greatness needs structure, and that structure arrived with a new leader on the sidelines. With the rise of a stronger system, discipline, and a new championship mindset, the Lakers transformed from contenders into a machine built for one purpose: winning titles. The 1999-2000 season marked the beginning of total dominance. Shaq reached another level, physically overwhelming every defense, controlling the paint, and setting the tone for every game from the opening tip. And this time, there was no stopping it. 2000 NBA championship. The Lakers broke through and won their first title of the new era. Shaq dominated the finals and proved that no defense in the league could contain him when it mattered most. 2001 NBA championship. Even stronger, even more dominant. The Lakers went through the playoffs like a storm, and Shaq delivered one of the most overpowering postseason performances in NBA history. 2002 NBA championship, the final stamp of dominance. 3 championships in a row. A true dynasty was born. During this stretch, Shaquille O'Neal wasn't just the best player in the league. He was the center of an era where the entire NBA had to adjust its identity just to survive one team. And at the peak of this dynasty, cracks began to appear. Part 6. Rivalry, Pressure, and Falling Apart, 2002 to 2004. After 3 straight championships, the Los Angeles Lakers stood at the top of basketball, but staying there came with a cost. Shaquille O'Neal was still the most dominant force in the league, but inside the team, pressure was building. Expectations were higher than ever, and every possession, every game, and every playoff run came with increasing tension. By the early 2000s, the Lakers weren't just fighting opponents anymore. They were fighting internal friction, ego clashes, and the weight of being champions. On the court, Shaq remained unstoppable. Defenders still couldn't contain him. The paint still belonged to him. But basketball is not only about dominance, it's also about harmony. As time passed, differences inside the team became harder to ignore. What once looked like an unbreakable dynasty
slowly started showing cracks beneath the surface. The 2004 NBA Finals became the turning point. Despite high expectations, the Lakers fell short, and the dream of continuing the dynasty came to an unexpected end. It was the end of an era in Los Angeles, and the beginning of a new chapter for Shaquille O'Neal. A chapter that would take him away from the team where he became a legend and force him to prove himself all over again.
Part 7. The Final Shift and Legacy Move, 2004 to 2008. In 2004, the era in Los Angeles came to a sudden end. Shaquille O'Neal left the Los Angeles Lakers after years of dominance, championships, and unforgettable moments. It wasn't just a trade. It was the closing of one of the most powerful chapters in NBA history. The Lakers dynasty broke apart, and Shaq found himself starting over again, this time with a new team, a new system, and new expectations. But even outside Los Angeles, his impact didn't disappear. In 2006, Shaq proved once again that greatness doesn't fade easily. He helped guide his new team to a championship, showing the world that his dominance was not limited to one franchise or one era. However, as the years moved forward, the game began to change. Faster pace, new styles, younger players. The NBA was evolving. Shaq's role shifted from unstoppable center to veteran presence.
Part 8. Final Years and Retirement, 2008 to 2011. In 2008, Shaquille O'Neal entered the final stage of his NBA journey. The explosiveness was still there in moments. The dominance still appeared in flashes, but the league had changed. Younger, faster players were now shaping a new era, and Shaq's role slowly shifted from a primary weapon to a veteran leader. Even then, his presence never became ordinary. Teams still respected him. Opponents still prepared differently when he stepped on the court. Because even in decline, his reputation alone could change how a game was played. In 2009-2010, he made one final push toward another championship run, showing the world that experience and legacy still matter in big moments. But injuries, age, and time were no longer on his side. Finally, in 2011, Shaquille O'Neal officially announced his retirement from professional basketball. It wasn't just the end of a career. It was the closing of an era that defined physical dominance in the NBA. The league that once feared him now celebrated him. A giant had left the court, but his shadow remained everywhere the game was played.
Thanks for watching this documentary. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more legendary NBA stories. See you in the next one.